welcome. For those of you not in the know, Raven Software, the people whose logo look like this and show up on these games, are on strike. The fine people at Raven Software are currently in a battle for unionization with Activision, Blizzard, and Microsoft, because of the merger. And we're going to find out how that happened and how we got here and what it's going to look like going forward. So for those of you interested in following the story, there are a lot of articles all over the place that kind of detail it as it goes along. But I'm trying to make a good resource to get us up to where we are yesterday, which is the filing of the unionization vote. So we're going to start at the very beginning and walk it back and see why this is happening, what their demands are, what the responses have been. And hopefully after you're done with this video, you can go off and support the Game Workers Alliance, which will be the name of the union if the vote goes through, under the Communication Workers of America. But let's go ahead and get started. So the story actually tangentially starts in July of 2021 with the formation of the ABK Workers Alliance, which is a group that was organized from within Activision Blizzard by Jessica Gonzalez, who you can follow her at _TechJess on Twitter to get the latest updates on these. But I'll put a link in the description with her Twitter information if you want to go ahead and give her a follow and follow the story as it keeps developing. But Jessica Gonzalez, along with her fellow employees, helped organize the A Better ABK, which will pop up a little bit later in this story. But this was in response to the initial Activision Blizzard allegations trying to get Bobby Kotick out, where we saw these suits being filed. That is the formation of the ABK. That was in July 2021. So that forms. Then we move on ahead a little bit to where we start to touch on Ravensoft in August 21st. August 21st, he had a Kotaku article detailing the working conditions, I should say hellish working conditions, of Ravensoft's QA testers specifically. So this is before any organizing or like strikes or anything had taken place. Their working conditions were ghoulish, to say the least. Many of the employees detailed working 50 to 60 hour work weeks, with some even going as far as 70 hours in a week for QA development. They claim that their pay hovers around $14 per hour, and another claimed anywhere from $15 to $17 an hour. That may seem okay to some of you, but the cost of living in Madison, Wisconsin is around $62,000 for a family of 3 or 4. So a $14 per hour, that to 17 is coming out around $32,000 a year. So they're making below the cost of living, working 50 to 60 to 70 hour weeks in some cases. As you can see from a quote here, one of the QA testers, "I could not afford to live on my own. I don't have loans of any sort or children. I live with my partner, so I think I'm better than most. But I know many people who literally cannot take time off to work right now despite their mental health being absolutely awful, because they wouldn't be able to afford basic necessities such as rent and food." Another QA tester was quoted saying, "I have to live in a house with at least 3 other people to afford to survive and work without skipping meals. Even with 4 breadwinning adults in the house, it's still difficult to make ends meet while being available to work for Activision QA." And keep in mind, this is amid the allegations and the horrible working conditions at Activision as a whole. What with people being harassed constantly, sexual misconduct running rampant. So that also plays into the poor mental health is what they're talking about. That also references the terrible working conditions that were already happening at Activision Blizzard. A lot of the QA staffers are on contract, which will play into part of the issues here later, which means they don't have any benefits. So they don't have medical. If you're not familiar with how it works in the United States, the employer usually will provide dental, health, like any medical coverage comes from your employer, life insurance, etc. And any kind of those are the benefits that they do not have as contract workers, and those come with full-time roles. So you need a full-time position to start earning those types of benefits. Another issue that was so these people don't have benefits. They're being overworked, underpaid. as well as having a terrible workplace experience, as it shows here. One of the issues they've had flagged for months that they've known about is on their company display, it shows their legal names. This ends up being a problem for any like transgender employees because it shows their dead name, their old name they don't go by anymore, and outs them as being transgender when they may not feel comfortable. Especially Activision Blizzard, if you've looked at the allegations they've had previously, would probably a lot of them may not be comfortable with being outed as transgender by the actual system, by their actual communication system, which is pretty fucked up. I feel that in a workplace, transgender or not, everyone should feel comfortable. We have to go to work in order to get food and survive. That's what it is. We are forced to go there. I don't care if you like your job per se. Every wage worker has to go in order to survive. Therefore, I think at least the minimum amount of comfort provided to everybody is a fair ask. Whether you're transgender, gay, or even straight, like I don't think anyone should have to disclose that information or have it disclosed by your company to your coworkers is just completely unacceptable. And apparently this issue was not fixed. It was going on for 4 months, but that it compounds on top of that. On top of this goes along with all the other issues. So, and then there's also reports of the same toxic workplace environment that Blizzard has been promoting. Transgendered employees overhearing jokes made about transgendered people without management or the co-workers stepping in to say, that's inappropriate, or even any consequences from HR. Awful. So these are the working conditions at Ravensoft. This is prior, and this article is from August 21st. And December is where the straw sort of breaks the employees' camel's back. But we have these terrible working conditions. We have people without benefits. The reason they were doing this is because they were told by Activision Blizzard that they were going to get pay raises with the success of Warzone, as well as be moved from contract employees to full-time employees. The Warzone did very successful. They brought in this Call of Duty Warzone brought in $1.93 billion in earnings alone. That being said, they did bring on some QA testers, but they also decided to let go 12 of them from the team. And that may not seem like a lot to you, but it seems like sort of a small, it is a small, like tight-knit team. There are 300 employees who work for Ravensoft at this time, especially when these are people you come in and see work with day to day. Being laid off, as well as having to relocate with the layoff without any assistance from Activision Blizzard, really just hit them right in the heart. And it puts you on the grill of like, well, they're gonna treat contract employees this way, and you already see the terrible working conditions at Activision Blizzard. What are they going to do with my job if I don't do anything about this now? Is probably the mentality that's going through a lot of the staff at Ravensoft at this point in the story. The Twitter user @KittyCatQA, who also works at Activision Blizzard, also commented on the matter, saying, quote, the devs being fired are star workers and amazing people. Let go just to save a couple bucks on everyone else's promotion. So on top of that, the people they let go, they did not give a reason, and they were great performers too. So yes, if I had a full-time position there, I would also start to question, what are we going to do? My performance doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how well I perform. I could just be let go because they want more money. And as we've seen, Warzone made more than enough money to keep on 12 well-performing workers that obviously the employees, I can also say the employees and the management were not consulted during these layoffs too. So these people who were let go, they don't know why they were let go, and they were performing very well and essential to the team, and still let go. If I had to take my own speculative guess, it's knowing how companies work, is probably the amount of money they were paying them. They may have just been like on the higher end of contract workers or something. I don't know, but that is pure speculation. But that's usually how these sorts of layoffs work. unless it's some kind of weird vendetta. But either way, not okay. Following that, so on top of that, the people who did get the full-time positions were asked to relocate as well, and with no assistance from the company. I mean, they're making like, here it says like $14 to $17 per hour, and now you're being asked to relocate at your own expense. That is a super tight budget in line, and completely just like, I don't even know I see how you would like feasibly do that with like that sort of pay. Imagine making like less than $20 an hour, and then having to move, find a new place, increased rent as well where they were going to. So at this point, December 4th is where Ravensoft decides to go on strike. While they are striking, they set up a GoFundMe to support the striking workers, which went well. I believe as of this moment, they still have funds left over for future like union activities. So if you donated to them, great on you. I would again follow at _TechJess, who's for or you can look up the We Are GWA. They'll have more information if that strike fund is still available to donate to. Currently, they are no longer striking. But we'll get to why in a moment. It is definitely they definitely want to hold that strike fund close to their chest from the way things are developing. So you can go and support that, and any extra money they have, they are going to hold on to for these efforts. So it's not bad to donate additionally. So yes, December 10th, they start striking. This is when we actually start to get a response from Activision Blizzard, from Brian Bulateo. I'm saying that correctly. He's actually a former Trump admin and current chief administrator for Activision Blizzard. So we have a former Trump admin. Basically, I'm going to quote from this is the company-wide email that went out. It does say they are free to have a union vote and decide whether or not they want to support it. That is something that a company legally has to say. They cannot say anything anti-union. They will get hit with, at the very least, a fine in the U.S. probably. Isn't much, but when you start messing with union votes and organizing, it leads to further organizing and revotes. Granted, it can mess up people's jobs and things like that. We should definitely be against any sort of union busting. But the first part of this letter basically states, hey, you can do what you like. Second part, however, is much more ominous, and I'll quote it here. As you make your decision for your future, we ask only that you take the time to consider the consequences of your signature on the binding legal documents presented to you by the CWA. That's the Communication Workers of America. That's the union overseeing this organizing. Once you sign that document, you will have signed over to the CWA the exclusive right to represent you for the purpose of collective bargaining concerning all terms and conditions of employment. This is true. But you are also the union. You get a vote in the union. The alternative is your company does it. And as we've seen with Bobby Kotick, a company don't give a shit. Activision doesn't give a shit. They asked Bobby Kotick to step down. They've asked for, the employees have already asked for additional employee protections and like additional training in the workplace. And none of that has been met. So very weird for them to say, oh, you want to leave your bargaining in the union's hands as opposed where you can vote and have a say, or do you want to trust us who've done nothing so far for you? And then to finish that, it says that means your ability to negotiate all of your own working conditions will be turned over to the CWA, as the document says, which sounds good to me because right now you have no bargaining, no negotiation over your own working conditions. So I don't know why companies always phrase that as a threat. Like, it kind of just always, I feel like these anti-union letters almost always backfire because you're like, wait, hold on, I can negotiate my working conditions. Like, no, if you do this, you're gonna have to negotiate your working conditions through your union, as opposed to negotiating through them with nobody. Like, what? when am I negotiating my working conditions outside of having a union? Like, never. So this is basically like a thinly veiled threat of considering the consequences of siding with a union. So that is of December 10th. We go forward to January the 5th, 2022 at this point. Blizzard staff actually helped join the walkout in solidarity. And this is where the strike fund is actually set up. At this point, Activision has yet to acknowledge the strike or any of its demands. This is as of January 5th. At this point, the demands are asking to rehire any fired QA staff, relocation packages for anyone who had to move to the new office. Activision, at this point on January the 5th, responded to this, saying, for the 12 temporary workers at Raven whose agreements were not extended, we provided an extended notice period. And so, hey, you're going to be fired. Like, cool. Included payment for a 2-week holiday break, and will be working directly with those that need relocation assistance. So they've agreed to give some relocation assistance, but nothing too specific. I mean, there's the 2-week holiday break payment, but this doesn't meet the demand of them being rehired. So they did offer, and this is just for the temporary workers, not for the actual staff that had the full-time staff that had to move. After 5 weeks of striking, this sort of falls on to yesterday was the deadline. They gave Activision Blizzard up to January the 25th to recognize the union. If the corporation recognizes the union, then you're good. Your union's locked in. You can start voting and doing all the bargaining processes. Without that, in this case, they are going to have to move forward and take it to the National Labor Review Board, who they're going to file for an election. According to Game Workers Alliance, they do have a supermajority of votes. So if the National Labor Board can approve their union vote, they, in theory, should be able to go forward and all the employees get to vote. If it's a yes, then they are good. They, at that point, Activision, Blizzard, Microsoft are going to have to formally recognize the union and be obligated to bargain with them. However, there's still some time till that vote is organized. Usually the vote has to be on company property. There's still a lot of processes to get set up. And in the meantime, with all this, we have what Activision and Activision Blizzard have been sort of up to in their disgusting union busting efforts. So first off, in Activision Blizzard's sale, they have to Microsoft, they failed to acknowledge that a strike was taking place. So as far as Activision Blizzard is concerned, there's no strike happening or union organizing. They will not acknowledge it whatsoever. What they've done, and they've also struck against the QA teams, is so companies can't directly say you can't have a union. They can't talk negatively about a union other than saying like, oh, you, and then they can do like training courses that say like, oh, this is why a union could be bad for you. But they're not allowed to directly say do not join the union or not allowed to do a union. All of that is illegal. So instead, they do things like this. They have actually taken the QA teams and broken them up and spread the individuals across different sites. Like, so animation, art, design, audio production, all of them are going to have QA people embedded. So basically, hey, we're going to have other manager in corporate speak. We are going to have other managers from other teams that we can trust monitor these employees, and we're going to split them up so they can't organize effectively. That is basically what this move does. Activision Blizzard claims, and it probably very well is, that other QA teams and other parts of the company are organized this way. And I imagine they are, like, that's probably truthful, because a company can't directly, again, strike at union organizing. They can't go to employees and tell them don't do this. They can't fire them for organizing directly. Big corps are not allowed to directly be anti-union. However, they will still implement anti-union practices under the guise of business as usual, because it's the only way they can get away with it. It's the same for at-will states. You can't be fired for organizing a union, but you can be fired for missing a day, having a bad attitude, not being a team player, all of which do not fall under legal protections of union organizing, sex, gender, race. All of those are off the table. So Activision Blizzard is going to do its best to disguise these anti-union activities as business as usual. Anything they can pull to make it seem like, oh, this is normal, while still impacting them. Anything their company's already doing that will negatively impact the union organizing, they're gonna throw at it, because that is legally how they get away with it. Personally, I think that should be illegal as well. I think once they're organizing, you shouldn't be able to mess with their teams, especially in this capacity, to just fling them across the company. It should be a clear, like, anti-union. It's clearly an anti-union tactic at this point, especially considering the timing of it. I don't think that should be illegal, but here we are. At this point, the demands that the Game Workers Alliance are going to be asking for, these are basically the outline of what, if this union vote does succeed and goes through, which so far at this point in time is to be dated. We don't know when the actual vote is going to be held, but the demands they'll be bargaining for at this point are, due to lack of project resources, workers are forced into crunch conditions regularly with the little ability to push back. So no crunch. Sounds good to me. Lack of income parity. So basically, hey, other QA developers are getting paid more than us. We want our pay to be like equal with the national standard. And they additional duties and expectations merit appropriate compensation role adjustment. So hey, if you're gonna have us do more than QA work, we also demand that we get compensated extra for doing things outside our job description. Again, totally fair and should have already been happening. Many Raven workers are expected to relocate for this position without predetermined timeline and without company assistance. So they basically said it was only offered post-termination. So yeah, only the fired employees got relocation assistance, not your full-time ones. Of course, to tie in with the rest of the Activision Blizzard allegations, the continued cultural and ethical conflicts currently circulating as the company as a whole need to be fixed. And so at this point, it just comes down to if Raven Software can get 51% of the votes in this election, they will have to, Activision Blizzard will have to begin bargaining with them. They are, again, a studio of 300 employees, and they claim to have the supermajority. So we'll keep a close eye on this going forward. But I have faith, and I hope that their organizing efforts pay off. I think QA is very important part of the process. It's for game development. We've already seen a lot of bugs popping up in Call of Duty and Warzone because of the striking QA workers, and hopefully they can overcome the challenges that Activision Blizzard is going to, or is already throwing at them, organize their vote and get it out, and have a proper union, the first proper union in the video gaming industry and sector. And from there it can only grow. Once you have one division, especially with something as broad as a Game Workers Alliance, I hope that they can start adding the rest of the company into that as well, not just Raven Software. But that should be the full timeline of events of what's going on over at Activision Blizzard and with Raven Software. Definitely seems like it is completely justified for the staff at Raven Software to start organizing, especially with the lack of feedback, the lack of everything on Activision Blizzard's part. And this, again, will fall over into Microsoft once the purchase of the company is finalized. They will also have to be dealing with this as well. They've got no feedback, no additional compensation, overworked, crunched in a terrible work environment. What option do they have left? And the company is coming at them saying, oh, you shouldn't have a union. You need to bargain with us. But they've already tried bargaining with them, and it obviously doesn't do shit. So I wish them all the luck. I will put all my sources in the description, as always, as well as some people you may want to follow to continue following the story and to support the Game Workers Union. So, till next time. Hey, I'm Hauberkv, and if you like what you saw, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button at the bottom. It's appreciated, and feel free to join the Discord. The link is at the bottom. Thank you.